Welcome to the Business Resource Open House, the business of community. Today we'll be addressing finance, as that's one of the key issues for entrepreneurs is access to capital. As we begin, we're happy to announce our musician for today. This gentleman has his own Spotify channel, and he's coming off of the Seattle Center concert for the API Heritage Festival. Please welcome to the stage, Nikhil Baga.
Hi, I'm Nikhil, and yeah, this is a cover. Jack Johnson. This is Better Together. There's no combination of words I can put on the back of a postcard. No song that I can sing, but I can try for your heart. Our dreams and me are made out of real things, like a photograph of sepia tone loving. Love is the answer, at least for most of the questions in my heart. Where do we go and why are we here, and how come it's so hard? It's not always easy, and sometimes life can be deceiving. Tell you one thing, it's always better when we're together. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. Yeah, we'll look at the stars when we're together. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. Yeah, we'll look at the stars when we're together. All these moments just might find their way to my dreams tonight. I know that they'll be gone. The morning light sings and brings new things. But tomorrow night, you see, they'll be gone too. Too many things I got to do. And if all of these moments just might find their way to my day-to-day scene, I'll be under the impression I was somewhere in between. Just only two, me and you. The many things we got to do, places we got to be. Sit beneath the mango tree. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. Yeah, we'll look at the stars when we're together. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. Yeah, we'll look at the stars when we're together. Next song is one of my favorite songs, actually. It's by the Beatles. This is Come Together. So, yeah. He went on flat one, he got grooving up slowly. He's got Dog Jam football, he's got hair down to his knees. Got to be a joker, he just does what he please. Oh yeah. He went on toe shine, he got toast football, he got monkey finger, he shoot Coca-Cola, he's got hair down to his knees. One thing I can tell you is we've got to be free. Come together right now over me. He bad production, he got Walrus gumbo, he got oh no cyborg, he won spinal cracker, he's got feet down below his knees. One thing in his arm. armchair, you can feel his disease. Come together right now over me. Roller coaster, he got early warning, he got muddy water, he won mojo filter, he said 1 is 1 and 1 is 3. Got to be good looking cause he's so hard to see. Come together right now over me. Over me, over me, over me, yeah. Alright, I got one more song. This is an original song that I wrote. You can find it on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Music. And yeah, it's about the pandemic and dealing with mental health with online school and how that all started out. And yeah, just wrote this song to cope with my emotions. So. All these thoughts inside my head are driving me crazy. People telling me it's never enough. Who's going to save me? I just wanna live my life and not be contained. If I can't get out of here, I might go insane. It's getting harder, harder, harder till the tension breaks. Boy, you know that you're making such a big mistake. Harder, harder till the tension breaks. Boy, you know that you're making such a big mistake. I don't know where I will go, but I can't stay here. It may never be enough for you, but I can't make it. I am sick and tired of these little games. Did you have to do this now? I've got what it takes. It's getting harder, harder, harder till the tension breaks. Boy, you know that you're making such a big mistake. Harder, harder till the tension breaks. Boy, you know that you're making such a big mistake. No, you're making such a big mistake. No, it's getting harder, harder, harder till the tension breaks. Boy, you know that you're making such a big mistake. Harder, harder till the tension breaks. Boy, you know that you're making such a big mistake.
Let's give a round of applause to Nikhil Baga. Oh my goodness. And you got to wait, Nikhil, I just got to show you this. Our graphic recorder is already starting to capture you. Oh, hold on 1 second. Our graphic recorder. Here we go. Hold on, Madi. I just wanted you to see this picture. There you go. Check that out, Nikhil. Hey,
You
Nikhil.
gonna be in here, Nikhil.
Nikhil, when did you know that music was your thing, Nikhil?
Well, I started taking piano at a really young age, and yeah, I just always loved music. It's always just been a part of me, and yeah, I just picked up the guitar a couple years ago, and yeah, I just love it.
Well, I'm as a guitar player too. I appreciate it. Appreciate your music here to start us off today. My last question to you here, Nikhil. What's one of the goals? What's something like on your wish list that you want to do? Maybe a place you want to play, someone you want to play for.
Climate Pledge Arena.
Climate Pledge Arena right here in Seattle, Washington. Let's give him one more round of applause. Nikhil Baga, available on Spotify and his website. Thank you so much. I'm John Chen. I'll be your producer today for the Business Resource Open House. We have so many amazing features here. This program, brought by these two people I'm about to introduce you to, it's really their vision to have this program be accessible by so many businesses and people here in Seattle. First, let's bring to the stage the one and only from the Seattle Public Library, Jay Lyman. Hey, Jay, how you doing?
Great, thank you, John. Wow! I can't wait to go to that concert at Climate Pledge Arena. I'm ready to click for my ticket.
Thank you so much, Jay. And by the way, Nikhil, if you didn't see it, go back and see the replay. The participants list reactions were going off all over the place. We got celebrations, applause, and everything else. Now, this woman too has been here at the beginning. The Business Resource Open House, a part of the Beacon Business Alliance. Let's give a round of applause for Angela Castaneda. Hello, Angela.
Hello, everyone. It really sets the stage. Thanks, Nikhil. I think the songs you chose, and then also bringing yourself and sharing your original work as well, and talking a little bit about your strategic planning for the future. It's what we're talking about today. Whether you're creative or a small business with brick and mortar, today the goal is to really connect you with resources and have conversations that in this space are emergent. So I'm here to right now introduce a way we're doing that by having multiple languages served here. So I would like to have the interpreters come forward. We're all right now in an English channel so you can understand us and hear us. But what we're doing is we're setting it up so that you can choose a different language if you prefer, a language that you prefer. I would like to introduce our interpreters first. Levine Tran, can you please introduce yourself and invite folks to your channel?
Oh, and remember,
Come to the
English channel, Levin.
and Iris Riveros. Can you come into the space with us and introduce? And now I'd like to introduce Abdi, Rahman, and Sarah. If you both could come forward or one after the other and just introduce yourselves uh, in the English channel. Yes. Sarah, give it a moment. Um, Abdi, is it possible for you to show your screen just for a moment to say hello?
He's looking for his camera right now, Angela.
Okay. And Sarah, we can hear you. Can you say hello and introduce yourself real quick? And business owner over the years as well. Both Sarah and Abdi will be in the Somali channel. Please, Sarah and Abdi now go to the Somali channel and begin interpretation. And then I would like to introduce now Linda Lee. Can you? Yeah. Thank you so much. Welcome, interpreters, and we welcome you to the language channels. Another wonderful thing we've got going today is the graphic recording. I'd love to introduce Mari Shibuya, who you will see during this event as she builds on her beautiful creative rendition of what's going on today.
Hello, everybody. I am so excited to be with y'all and so excited to capture this important conversation around different ways of creatively financing our lives. All right, that's
beautiful.
That's it from me.
Thank you. Another way we like to show, honor everyone that's in the room, in the space, is also to provide and do something around a land acknowledgement to show that we are honoring that as well. And to do that, we have Will Booth. Will, could you please come? Thank you. Yes. Hello, Will. Can you introduce yourself and provide that?
Inde Wilawalu, Siganum Hananax Arayuta, Wiluayu, and Haratapegu Aradihoksku, Gitland Diwit Natalu, Vincianu, the Arab Diwit Dogu, Slakiget, Lakiop, Diptawash. It is important to understand that land acknowledgement is not a practice developed by colonial institutions. Rather, land acknowledgements is a traditional indigenous custom dating back generations. For non-indigenous communities to provide land acknowledgement shows their respect in honoring the indigenous peoples of the land in which we all live and work. Land acknowledgement is a simple way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and works towards honoring and inviting the truth. We acknowledge that we gather today on the ancestral lands of the first people of this area, the Pacific Northwest coast, and the Coast Salish peoples, past, present, and future. We honor with gratitude on which we will build and reside, and we honor the first peoples who have stewarded these lands and waters since time immemorial. We acknowledge their confirmed presence, contributions, and heritage. And we acknowledge that we as a community are caretakers of this land for all beings and all generations to come. Hoit, Waiawa.
Thank you, Will. I want to just make another comment to say, even if we're talking about finance, we still need to set the room and set the vibe and open it up for making connection and building trust. So I really appreciate all of you so far in providing that for us. Jay, I just wanted to make sure everybody knows we're live streaming. I'm put that in there. I'm handing it off to you.
Thank you. So Angela's going to put the link to the live stream in the chat. And I want to just encourage everyone to please take a moment, while we're talking here and share the stream. Put it out on your social media so that others can discover this. You can also share that stream after the event too. And people will hear what we've had to say today. So thank you all for joining us today. I am so very excited for this particular business research open house because we're going to be
aad
talking
iyo aad baan ugu faraxsanahay
some
dadkeena halkan jooga oo ku soo biiray kulankan ganacsi.
extremely exciting news to share here. And I'm hearing a little interpretation happening in this channel. So hopefully, I think Abdi, if may be interpreting into this channel. John, I'll let you do a private text there.
Jay, I'm adding Abdi as an interpreter back into the Somali channel. Back to you.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, I want to welcome you all here today, and thank you for being here. We're going to be talking about some work that the library has been involved with, that I have been involved with, and many other partners have been involved with here. And so I'm so excited to share about this work. I'm going to invite up onto the stage my colleagues Ahmed Abdi and Tina Matt to also help me here as we kind of set the stage and talk about the Muslim Community Finance Coalition and the work that we've been doing together. Tina, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hello.
And then John, if you can bring Ahmed up. There's Ahmed. Hi, Ahmed. So glad that you're here today too. You're on mute though.
One more time, Ahmed.
Me now?
There we go. Got it.
Now we hear you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. Well, I want to start by talking about kind of how the Muslim Community Finance Coalition work started 5 years ago. We at the library started hearing questions from community members asking about how they could tap into resources that would provide interest-free, riba-free, and sharia-compliant finance. And so I was fielding questions like this. This is 2017. I was fielding questions from community members. I'm sure Tina was as well. And we started asking around to find out, well, who does this kind of finance? And I distinctly remember kind of starting this email string, and it sort of exploding. Partners were being added to the string of like, well, do you do it? Oh, how do you approach this? So at one point, we all decided, hey, we need to get into a room and talk about this and find out like who in the greater Seattle area actually produces interest-free lending and how. So we convened a group of partners from different organizations, some of which you're going to hear from today, and others who are still part of the group and things too. But in that first meeting, we identified 9 different ways that organizations, nonprofit lenders, had approached this, and we started to understand that there were lots and lots of gaps in service, and so we decided we would continue to meet, and that we would talk more about how this should work, how this kind of finance does work, and what does work, and we've been meeting continually up till now. Tina, do you want to share a little bit about your perspectives from that early time period and like kind of what the group's been working on?
Sure. So I was brought onto the libraries to business team to work with Jay to support the one-on-one business information appointments from the branches. And one of our commitments is like to not only provide one-on-one appointments, but is to also build relationships and to support particularly small business owners from traditionally underserved communities. And so like I myself had come across a lot of folks in like the Muslim community, particularly immigrant Muslims in the south end of Seattle. And one thing that I heard loud and clear, and this is when I was actually interacting with a group of like mainly women Muslim business owners. They were actually deconvened under the title, the name, the Women's Muslim Business Network. Yeah. And it's been a while, so it's like 2017, the end of 2016, early 2017. And one thing that we heard loud and clear during that time was that there were not only like an interest in business, but also lots of folks were afraid of risk and failures. Additionally to that, they were ultimately seeking funding and understanding financial systems and access to capital. Those were huge barriers to actually opening business in the Seattle area. And that was something that we wanted to support. And, you know, as librarians, a couple of things that we're really good at is like outreach and like research and convening groups. And that's what Jay did. And so I think the body of the work that we did, the main mission is to provide access, to bring a group of folks together to provide access to capital to the Muslim community who have been historically excluded from these opportunities and services. And then a big part of that is to align financials and transactions with Islamic finance values. So in the beginning, when we brought this work forward, it was actually under the title Islamic Finance Network. And then we changed that at some point to Muslim community to actually include the more like all of our stakeholders and community input. And I think this is where I'm gonna maybe move it to Abdi. And that's where Ahmed Abdi comes in.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity. And I'm going to talk about why Islamic financial is necessary in the U.S. And one of the reasons why it's really important, and I became part of this group, is because if you look at there are about 3.5 Muslims live in the U.S. And this 3.5 Muslims that live in the US, most of them are excluded from the American dream of owning homes and cars. This is because Islam strictly prohibits bearing interest-bearing loans. Our faith strictly prohibits that, and Muslims need alternative to finance and their homes and as well as their cars. So there are several Islamic financing models that are currently exist in the US, and which one of them is called Musharaka, which is a partnership and contracts. And then the other one is called Murahaba, sorry. Which is a sort of like you lease something and then you find at the end of those lease there's an agreement where you can own whatever that you have leased. And there's also other means of financing. However, our community face great challenge in this country, such that there are the laws that is designed currently that are excluded from Muslims, as well as their input when it comes to the banking. The banking system is almost against, it looks like it's almost against what our faith, is there for. So therefore, we deal with the banks based on necessity and not optional. Our community members wait until they have enough cash to purchase home, because they lack financial options. So we don't have, so we have to wait until we get enough money to purchase homes or cars. And you can imagine how hard that is for an immigrant who come to this country with no cent. Most of us come here having even a dime in our pockets. So that you can imagine how hard it is. And when the financial institutions are not designed or are designed to exclude our needs. And that's why it's very important. And everybody that live in the Washington state, particularly in Seattle area, which is also one of the largest cities that host a lot of Muslims that live, that we really needed such programs. And this is that's why we were working together to achieve Islamic Sharia loans that can help both small businesses and as well as help community members, become part of the thriving communities in the US. And that's why I'm also excited to be in this and part of this. So I'm gonna let others speak. And however, it's my honor to be here, and I look forward to achieving those amazing goals that we all have in mind at the end of this project. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Ahmed, and thank you, Tina. Yes, I hope that gives a little bit of the background of how the work of this group came together 5 years ago, we definitely heard in that early time of the group that there was a need for better understanding between those that were designing finance products and the community. And so that's what we've been doing, is really providing a way for community members to provide input to folks like Business Impact Northwest and Craft 3, who you're going to hear from next, so that they have what they need to be able to design and to build products that actually work for community. And that work continues. That feedback and that conversation continues on. I think we should move maybe to that next conversation and learn more about from Victor and Seth on what sharia-compliant finance is. What is riba-free finance? Tina or Ahmed, do you have any last words that you'd like to say before we pass things over to Seth and Victor?
I just wanted to acknowledge, since that it did take 5 years, that a lot of the work, there was a lot of collective efforts, responsibilities, a collective expertise and ownership of the work, and a lot of creativity. My lights just went out. Creativity along with collective care about doing this work. And I really appreciated everyone that came to the table.
Thank you.
And for me, the same. They are very smart people in the groups, and we are, even though there was some breakdown during the early pandemic, but we continue despite that. And I am hopeful that at the end of we'll have 100% product that's gonna satisfy the Muslim community that also are part of this thriving community in the US. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ahmed, and thank you, Tina. So next, I'm going to pass things over to Victor and Seth. Victor, if you wanted to kick things off and share a bit about Business Impact Northwest, riba-free finance, and what's in the works, what's already developed, and how does this kind of thing work? And then you can pass it to Seth after that.
Sure. Thanks for having me today here, Jay. So I will say Business Impact Northwest has been around for about 25 years in the Seattle area and Washington area. We cover Oregon, Washington, Alaska, as well as Idaho. We run the Women's Business Center for Washington and Alaska, the Veterans Business Outreach Center for the 4 states, and now in Oregon, we also run the Minority Business Development Agency. I know this has been going on for a long time. I've just been with Business Impact Northwest here a little over a year, but I know Steph and Joe have been working on this product for a while within the community, and we've been working in the different states that we're in to try to find a good program and a product that's going to be rolled out to the community. I know things take time, and I know I've talked to you, I've talked to Steph about this. We never want to do something that's going to be quick and never a good impact within the community. I know we've rolled out many new programs over the past couple of years, and not only is the financing, the product itself important for the community, but also the business education, training, the coaching very important. I think when we talk about, business owners wanting a safe product, something that they can rely on, something that can be good for the community, not only does it come in with the financing portion, but it also comes in with the coaching, having some mentors within the program who can take the time to explain to a business owner what the components of a business owner being successful are. Over the 25 years we've been doing this, we see the businesses that actually take advantage of coaching, the training, that important piece for the education portion, tend to outlast those businesses that just go into it. And I know from the aspect where I am with access to capital, I see a lot of businesses who come to us that say, we need financing, we need access to capital, but they don't even know what they need. They've just come across this amount that's in their head, but never sat down with someone to say, what do I need to get to that point? What's this amount of financing going to accomplish? You know, those are the important steps to get to before you get to the financing piece. So that's really what we are focusing on. I know I've had lots of conversations with SIF and as well as the scholar that we're using to make sure that this program comes out, not only just to come out, but also to come out being a worthwhile need for the community. And I'll just pass it on to SIF now.
Yeah, thank you, Victor. Yeah, I definitely echo all of Victor's comments. I think my video turned off. There we go.
Seth, just a reminder from our interpreters, and reminding myself too, we have to slow down so that they can keep up.
Yeah, absolutely. I will keep it slow. If I'm going painfully slow, just let me know. But yeah, definitely, echo all the words from Victor and Jay and Ahmed Abdi and Tina. This work is very important, and I'm happy to be and honored to be really part of it. I've got a little slide deck. I'll go over the outline of what we're going to cover through this. We're going to do a little overview of Craft 3, who we are, kind of what we do, talk about the Sharia-compliant work that we've done, and then I'll probably hand it back to Jay to open up for questions. So I'll start with the who we are. Craft 3 was founded in Ilwaco, Washington back in 1994, and what's commonly known as a CDFI, much like Business Impact Northwest, a community development financial institution. Over the last 20 some years now, we've grown to 8 offices throughout Oregon and Washington. The biggest difference between what CDFIs like us do and what banks do is that we're not depositories. So we don't take on deposits from the general public, which means we're not regulated like banks are regulated. So when we lend money, we can take more risk. And so that leads to doing a lot of things that banks can't do. So I'll talk a little bit about what we do next. And so we try to focus on underserved communities, underserved entrepreneurs, homeowners, organizations that are unable to access traditional capital from banks for whatever reason. Could be credit issues, it could be the length of time they've been in business, the type of collateral that they're offering. For some reason, they can't fit into a credit box, which banks tend to have. Whereas, again, because we're not regulated, we internally decide the amount of risk we want to take on what. So we're able to overlay our mission over everything that we look at and decide where to take more risk and where not to take as much risk. For the past few years, we've been working on our equitable lending initiative. And one of my colleagues spent about 2 years in different communities, underserved communities, communities of color, where there was a lot of entrepreneurs of color, business owners, organization owners that had traditionally been unable to access capital for various purposes. Either they were being displaced due to development, or they just couldn't grow their business, or they just didn't have access to normal capital that every business needs. So she spent about 2 years gathering information and figuring out, trying to figure out what are the biggest hurdles to entrepreneurs, to these communities, to access capital. And we took all that knowledge and that work that she did, and we put it into action in 2021, where we launched our equitable lending initiative, which basically was focused towards providing or lessening barriers for entrepreneurs of color to access capital. And so that meant, things we learned, like financial reporting wasn't usually a strong point. They were so busy operating their business, and it was hard enough just to keep up their bank account and keep it imbalance. So not always doing the type of reporting banks need, like P&Ls and balance sheets and cash flow reports. So we lowered the requirements on those. We went out and obtained capital from our funders to make sure that pricing for this money made sense, that we weren't charging 10, 12%, and making access more or capital more accessible, but at the same time making it so expensive that it didn't make sense. So I had a really thoughtful approach to how we would do this, and since then we've nearly tripled our lending to entrepreneurs of color. We've started a business services program, as Victor mentioned. It's not about just giving access to capital. It's about helping businesses understand how to use that capital, how to grow, how to be sustainable. And that's essentially what our business services group does, is one-on-one coaching, access to resources like accountants, CPAs, bookkeepers, attorneys, that some of these entrepreneurs just don't have access to. So part of the development of that work, or piggybacked onto the development of that work, was Sharia finance as well. So we started our first Sharia finance program in 2019. As Jay had mentioned, and Ahmed Abdi, I believe, had mentioned, in Islam, it's prohibited to participate in interest. And interest really is defined by the loaning of money with a return without any risk involved. So like banks here do, they call it risk, but really there's not a lot of risk involved when a bank loans somebody money. You're signing a promissory note saying, I'm going to pay you back regardless of how well I do. If I fail, I still owe you the money. You can come after my house. You can come after my spouse, whatever it is. So that's really what how interest is defined, is a return on the capital without the involvement of the risk of loss or the risk of how that venture that you've invested in is doing. And so there's unique ways to structure that risk in a way where the investor or the financier does take risk. And there's various levels of that, and based on the laws that we have to abide by here in terms of fiduciary responsibility, and when we are regulated by different types of state regulators, there's also things that we have to meet. So we kind of have to tiptoe into this a little bit, kind of carefully, but again, trying to keep the spirit of Sharia finance in play. So since we launched in 2019, it was a very specific product meant to help Muslim nonprofit organizations like mosques and community centers acquire and own commercial real estate. What I grew up in the Seattle area since I was 4 years old, so spent a lot of time here. I've seen the Muslim population grow from a handful of families when we moved here in 1978 and one mosque to thousands and thousands and hundreds of mosques. And a lot of these mosques just can't raise money fast enough, especially with the real estate prices in the Pacific Northwest the way they are and the way they increase, to be able to acquire properties. And without the ability to leverage capital, it was impossible. So these organizations are moving around a lot. They were losing their leases. They were getting displaced. So that's one thing that really aligned well with our mission, and something that we wanted to take the time and sorry, I got distracted by the chat, and I shouldn't try to double task here. So take our time, spend our resources, really get involved in how we do it right, and how we do it scalable. That was the most important thing. We didn't want to go in with a no interest product, saying we're not going to charge interest, we'll charge you a fee up front. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's not scalable. So we really put some thought into how we would develop it, and it resulted in the launch of our Musharaka commercial real estate program, which since the launch of it, we've financed 5 nonprofits, about $8 million in investments throughout Oregon and Washington, that have led to permanent Islamic schools, mosques, community centers, and just had a lot of impact in their communities. We'll continue to talk about what's the details behind Sharia financing, which is the next slide, which is musharaka, which is what we essentially launched with. And I skipped that last slide because I kind of covered it. So sorry, I was not sticking to the rules. Musharaka finance is really a way for investors to take risk and share the profit of a venture, of a joint venture or partnership. The reason we chose this structure for commercial real estate finance is essentially it's a partnership that you create. So if we have a borrower in the traditional sense, and I'm going to continue to refer to them as a borrower, we would loan them money on a promissory note. We would take security in the form of a deed of trust. They'd put a down payment, and then they'd pay us back the amount of money plus our interest over a number of years. Musharaka requires us to invest in the property with our borrower. So we form a special purpose entity, an LLC, that buys the real estate. Both us and our borrower put our capital into this entity, and we buy ownership shares in the entity which owns the real estate. Now we become partners with our borrower rather than a lender-borrower relationship. That asset or that piece of real estate creates profit through the lease of our borrower leasing the facility from the LLC. So we're entitled to our share. If we own 50% of that, we put 500 in on $1 million property and they put 500 in, we're entitled to 50% of that profit. And they're entitled to 50% of that profit. So they pay, say, $10,000 a month in rent. We get 5,000 of that. They get 5,000 of that back. The 5,000 is essentially our profit for the amount of revenue that partnership is generating. Their equal profit, then they get to choose what to do with that. And based on the agreements that we put together, they choose to buy our ownership every month in the LLC with their profit portion. So every month we're getting our profit, which is essentially the same as the interest we would charge. And the borrower is then using their profit to purchase ownership from us every month. So our ownership is dwindling every month. Their ownership is going up. So every month we're entitled to less profit. They're entitled to more. They buy more shares from us. And so it's known as a diminishing musharaka, where it's a diminishing partnership where the investor is being bought out of their ownership over a period of time. The biggest difference here is that we have ownership risk. The reason we chose to do commercial real estate to start off with is there's not a lot of risk in commercial real estate as long as we approach it right. There's still risk involved and there's still liability risk involved for us, which is why banks typically can't do these types of structures, is that the regulators won't let them take that ownership or liability risk. And then there's all sorts of other details that I won't bore you with today that go into how we cannot charge late fees, or in the event of a default, we can't have default interest or foreclosure or things like that. So there's a lot of details that go into that, which again, go towards the spirit of Sharia finance, of sharing that risk. Next, I'll talk about our new product that we're working on with Business Impact Northwest and others that we're just getting ready to launch, which is the Ijara lease financing. So the next real step for us was developing a product now that we had kind of had a product that was successful for commercial real estate purchases. The next thing was being able to offer capital to businesses that don't necessarily have a need to purchase real estate, but just have a need to finance their business, whether it's purchasing equipment, inventory, needing working capital, those types of things. And so the Ijara program, and these terms that I'm using are not made up. They're used all around the world in different countries as mechanisms for finance, especially Muslim countries, majority Muslim countries. So the Ijara essentially is like a lease financing where we as the lender or the financier are buying an asset or buying assets and leasing it to the business. The unique thing about how we're doing this is that, if you hearken to a car lease, you go lease a car from somebody, you sign the lease paperwork, you're essentially renting the car for 3 years, and then you're agreeing to give it back or purchase it for a certain residual amount that's left over. And so there's no essentially rate built into that. It's an agreed upon payment amount over a certain number of years. And that's exactly how this works. The unique thing about it is we had to really figure out how an existing business coming to us that doesn't have hard assets like equipment needs, say they're a grocery store and they've been operating for 3 years and they need working capital to grow, that equipment isn't going to be worth, say, the $100,000 of working capital they need. So on the back end, we had to come up with a very unique way to evaluate the value of their assets, to make sure that the funding amount was available that they needed, and that it made sense, and that it could be applied uniformly across a grocery store, a CPA firm, a equipment company, a manufacturing company, whatever it was. So that's been a lot of the heavy lift, is trying to figure out how we make that fair and consistent, and the approach that we take basically is that every business has assets. The value of those assets isn't just what I can go sell those assets for, like in a grocery store, the shelves or the furniture. It's also the value of what those assets can generate in revenue. And so we've got a formula that we use to go through that and come up with a valuation. And then essentially put together a lease where we contractually purchase those assets and lease them back to the business over 5 years, 7 years. And the end of the term, we sell them back their assets for $1. And it works out really well. I've talked a lot, and I've got a couple other slides, but happy to share those with you later. So I think I'll hand it back to Jay at this point to go over any questions or anything like that.
Thank you, Seth, and thank you, Victor. I guess one question that probably is on people's minds is like, and we will send out a message to everyone afterwards. But if what Seth and Victor have been sharing is interesting, like, what's the next step? Like, if I'm a business owner and like what you just shared is like exactly what I need, and I'm hopeful that will happen. How do we go about it?
Yeah, I'll start, and then Victor, I don't want to speak for you, but I know we're developing this together. We're at different stages. I think Business Impact is also developing other products behind this that will meet the need of the Muslim community and beyond. So for us, it's just send out an inquiry to us. Go on our website, let us know you're interested in Sharia finance and a little bit about your business. We honestly, if it's commercial real estate, something we can work on right now. The Ijara financing for working capital is probably about 2 to 3 weeks out. Probably right after the holidays, first of the year is when we'll start being able to process those.
Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, same with us. We're in the process of launching it at the beginning of January. We're still in the process of making sure that all the documentation is done correctly. The same scholar that we're both working with is going over making sure everything is done correctly. And we're working with the different communities in Oregon and Washington to make sure that the first initial clients who come through the program understand that it is the launch of it. So we're going to be working slowly to make sure everything goes as smoothly as possible.
Thank you. Thank you both. And if I understand kind of correctly too, and like the Craft 3 is going to probably take some of those larger capital finance things, and Business Impact Northwest will focus more on those that are smaller. Am I hearing that right?
Correct. And, we've always had a great partnership, so we can always reach out to each other. I know there's sometimes that things that we can't do, we'll reach out to Craft 3 and vice versa.
Jay, is it okay if I read from the chat the question and answer? In what languages is the business technical assistance to prepare for the loan being provided? Saif answered, Craft 3's technical assistance is available in English and Spanish currently. Another question, please put the links in the website. They're getting done. Could you please talk more about the real estate piece? Is a request. I don't know if that's something we can do right now, or if you could summarize.
Yeah, happy to. Just high level, it's you know, we one of the things we didn't want to do, again, for the sake of scale, is change the way we underwrite things. So really, it's the documentation and the structure at the end that makes this Sharia compliant. The underwriting piece of it is exactly the same. You know, we look for anywhere from 0 down to 20% down, depending on the business. The approach we take is, again, not in boxes. It's all about kind of holistically what we're looking at for the client. So we ask a lot of questions and dig deep. But again, same thing. If you're interested in learning more, please reach out to me. My contact information is in the chat on our website as well. So reach out to me. I'd be happy to walk you through it.
Wonderful. Okay.
I know that we need to move. I know we need to move on. Jay, just let me throw in there that I know our interpreters are interested in making sure that languages are, things are being interpreted, and I know you'll get to that point, or you are at that point. So there's connections to be made here to make sure that happens.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Angela. I appreciate you calling that out too. And we are going to move to the next segment, but this is a reminder that in the last half of this, after we've turned off the live stream, Seth, Victor, myself, Tina, Ahmed, we're all going to be in a breakout room, and we're going to be off camera, and we're going to be able to chat about, you know, needs and interests and all of that. So thank you, Seth, and thank you, Victor, for coming. And we'll connect here in that second half of the program. And we appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Yes. Please do.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Go ahead. We do hear you. Yes.
I don't hear anything yet.
Jay, Sarah's one of our interpreters, and she's currently on the English channel. So go ahead and continue, Sarah.
more than 100,000, and most of them are complaining about continuing business and operating. I don't know if you heard Amazon accepting EBT. I don't know why. Amazon accepting EBT, and so I'm just letting you know that if there's any solution for financial matter, that's the question.
And Jay, just so you know, can you just recap Sarah's key points? I got her English in here halfway through, so if you could just summarize and see if you can answer. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you. And thank you, Sarah, for sharing that, your personal experience too. So I heard, just for everyone who wasn't able to hear it, I heard Sarah talking about her experience as a business owner in Southeast Seattle, and the struggles and difficulties that others in her community are facing, and like so many barriers to support, including financial support, and also that they were forced to shut down the business. Am I saying that right, Sarah?
Yeah.
I guess I would respond with I think that is exactly what we're hopeful to be able to do with the Muslim Community Finance Coalition work. That the work that the whole group has been working on is really to try to help provide more access to financial capital for Muslim-owned businesses in Seattle. And they both Seth and Victor are representing organizations who are launching products, that financial products to finance that will better help those folks that are that you're mentioning. So I'm hopeful that you'll take some in the second half of the program, come in and talk with Seth and I and Tina and Ahmed and Victor in that breakout room too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. And so next, I'm going to move to invite Walter Acuna to the stage. Walter, thank you for being here. I'm going to let you introduce what you want to what you're going to share with us today, and just thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you very much, Jay. Yes, I'm Walter Acuna, and I work for Chase Bank. And as you know, everybody knows, Chase is a traditional financial institution. And when we say traditional financial institution, unfortunately, we don't have the alternative or easy underwriting that we would love to have in order to help our minority community. So the work that Craft3 and Business Impact Northwest are doing is great. I'm extremely excited for the Muslim community and the way these loans can impact their community. However, if we talk about traditional financing, I'm extremely excited to announce that we just launched our new special purpose credit here in the state of Washington, which is going to provide for traditional financing an easier way for underwriting with minimal documentation, as well as below traditional financing credit scores, and also unsecured loans up to $250,000. But however, one of the requirements is based on zip codes, and these zip codes needs to be within a minority community zip code. And of course, there are many zip codes that qualify here in the state, and I don't know all on the top of my head, but when someone comes and they apply with us, we can, use this special corporate credit and increase the lending that we're providing. In addition to that, the new role that I have right now as a senior business consultant, if for whatever reason the business owners don't qualify with us, I can refer them to business partners, again, like Business Impact Northwest or Craft3. And they don't have to be a Chase client, which is also really attractive because traditionally, banks, we're trying to keep as many customers as we can, but we really weren't providing a good support for our business owners. So we want to change that, and that's why we're building these partnerships, and where we are able to refer whoever is not qualifying for our loans out there. But also traditionally, we didn't provide technical support, and now that I'm as a senior business consultant in the brand new Minority Entrepreneurs Program, we are providing technical support for our clients as well. So any other business out there, as I said, they don't need to be a client for Chase. And for this specific program, we're offering coaching 101, which can help the business in any capacity they need. The program can last up to 6 months. So pretty much what we keep them in our portfolio, we talk to them, we teach them about financial statements, we teach them about how to package a loan. And again, even if they don't qualify for us, we help them to qualify with any other lenders out there. We're also providing some workshops in the community. I work with several Chamber of Commerce and some other nonprofit organizations, and we talk about access to capital, we're talking about cash flow, we're talking about building a trust of advisors. And we notice that business owners as well, they are so focused in that's the role in their own business that sometimes they need the support of a good accountant, maybe a lawyer, insurance company, all that. So we can also help finding the right professional, helping with that specific capacity. So the program, again, is they don't have to chase to bank with us, and we are providing all these services totally free. Right now, we have the services in Spanish and in English. And of course, I'm going to leave on the chat all the information, how to reach us. I'm going to put my contact information. I'm going to put some resources we have out there. On the Chase website, we have great resources that talk about cash flow, access to capital, including marketing, because we notice that social media and all that is big, and a lot of times people having a hard time how to manage social media. We also have classes for that. So I'm going to share that information on the chat. And really excited about this. And I'm going to be on the breakout rooms to talk a little more about this if you guys are interested, or you can just contact me directly at my email address or phone number that is there. So I believe back to you, Angela.
Walter, thank you so much. I know I have had the experience of introducing you to some of the small business owners that I'm working with in 98144, 98108, 108, and some of the other small business owners in the Southeast Seattle area, and with good success. And I think, as I put into chat, the concern sometimes is for some of the folks that are working in a small community-based organizations who are developing those relationships directly, could help strengthen the bridge between your program and a business owner. So we all are at the table together here, hoping to provide those great connections. Right now, we're moving forward, and I'd love to introduce
Angela,
Taj.
there is one question, if you don't mind. Abdi asked, do you offer services in the 98126 and Southwest communities? And then you can move on.
Yes, so right now, the services are all Washington State. The special purpose credit is just for lending. So if someone is going to apply for a loan, that's when the zip code applies. But for the Minority Entrepreneurs Program and the technical assistance is free and is available to Washington State.
Thank you, Walter.
Sure.
Any other questions?
They were all good, Angela. Ready to go.
Okay. So we are going to move to, I'd like to introduce a small business manager at the Seattle Credit Union who's also a board member and small business owner, an executive officer for BOBI, which is Black-Owned Business Excellence, a group that has stood up through the COVID times to bring Black business owners together to organize and to focus on gaps and barriers, and bring more strength to small business owners in Washington state. Taj Benford is a visionary leader with over 18 years of experience in the banking industry. I've got a pretty great bio here. I could keep going, but I think what I'm going to do is put that in chat so you all have it. Taj, go.
Thank you, Angela. As Angela stated, I am Taj Benford. I am the small business manager here at Seattle Credit Union. I will be doing a quick lending overview of the products and services that we have to offer. My core message for today's presentation is that Seattle Credit Union supports lending equality to small businesses in Washington state. As we move along, you'll be able to see why. But before, I wanted to explain the difference between a bank and a credit union. What's the difference? Banks likely have more ATMs and branches. Sometimes they have higher interest rates on loans. Their financial technology may be a little advanced than a smaller credit union. Banks may offer lower APYs, which is annual percentage yields, on savings accounts, CDs, deposit accounts. Banks may have more convenience because, of course, they're larger corporations. They have a ton of locations and they have the capital to do that. More higher fees, more products, and their accounts are federally insured up to $250,000. Credit unions may offer lower interest rates on loans. Credit unions may have fewer branches and ATMs. Seattle Credit Union currently has 10 branches in Washington state, and we are smaller, so we're going to have smaller branches, right? Credit unions tend to have higher APYs on savings and deposit accounts, less access to financial technology, fewer and lower fees. So when you see those deposit accounts and you have to make a direct deposit of a certain amount every month to have that fee waived, credit unions tend to shy away from those things because they're more community focused, and we focus on those lower income communities. Credit unions can have fewer products offered because of smaller customer base. Credit unions can have excellent customer service and financial education series and workshops. Credit unions are also, accounts are federally insured by the National Credit Union Association of up to $250,000. I'm also going to go over the different types of business loans, starting with the business line of credit. I do a lot of consulting. I did 3 consultations yesterday with small business owners. Some of them were startup and some of them were existing businesses who have been around for 5+ years. And this is a question that's asked a lot. What is the difference between a line of credit and a credit card or a term loan or a vehicle loan? Business line of credits are generally used for short-term purposes. This product is primarily used for payroll, overdraft protection, and emergency business expenses. Line of credit products are variable rate products and are not ideal for long-term financing. The interest rate is typically higher than collateral secured loans. Secured, unsecured term loans are commonly used for large purchases and will take time to pay down or pay off. So, line of credit, it's an open line. You can use that at any time. That is used for short-term lending. Think payroll for your employees if you're a business that has employees. A term loan is going to be something that's tied to that loan. Think of your auto, your personal vehicle that you have. You go to the dealership, you purchase that auto, and they're going to say, all right, we're able to approve you for this amount. You're paying $384.27 for the next 72 months. That is a secured or unsecured term loan because it has a term. You're going to pay it down for a certain amount of time. These products have a fixed rate and a repayment agreement. The interest rate is typically lower for collateral secured financing compared to a line of credit. And one of my favorites, business credit cards. This is one of the products that I personally got for my business first. And of course, you know, you're a new business owner, you get your business credit card and you're excited, but what do you spend? Or how do you utilize that business credit card? Business credit cards are commonly used for business travel, supplies, materials, equipment, and more. Interest rates accrue if balances are not paid in full within a 30-day statement period. Same as your personal credit cards, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so earlier I did share my core message on behalf of Seattle Credit Union. We believe in lending equality at this institution. So we purposely introduced startup lending. Startup lending is typically not available at traditional financial institutions or credit unions. This is the first time that I've ever heard of it when it was introduced. And when I present this in the community, a lot of people are very excited that we actually have startup lending. You started your business last week, you have a chance of being approved at Seattle Credit Union for small business lending. So our caps are a little lower, and you'll see the difference once we get to our existing slide. And our existing slide is going to kind of cover what we offer to those businesses that have been operating successfully for 2 years or more. Startup lending is typically for those businesses who are not or have not been operating for more than 2 years. These are those businesses that are just now starting out. They just applied for their EIN if they're LLC last week. They just registered their business with the Washington State Secretary of State. So we lowered our credit criteria as well. Typically at traditional banks, you need a bare minimum of 660, but we lowered that criteria requirement to 620. We want to make sure that we're giving a chance for lending for those who might not be so credit savvy, but we do also help them build their credit here by utilizing our external partners. So for our business lending, our business vehicle lending, our cap is $45,000. Term loan is $45,000. Term loan unsecured, $25,000. Line of credit for a startup, $25,000. Very, very fair. Credit card max allowed, $10,000 for startups. This is very fair lending in my eyes. You typically don't see this much availability to those who are starting new businesses. Next slide, please. Another product that I'm extremely excited about, I-10 small business lending products. This is for those who are not, they're permanent residents, or they're from another country and they're not considered legally a U.S. citizen. We help them as well. Their criteria is very similar to the startup. And I do want to go back to the other slide. You don't have to change it, but for startups, we are underwriting using your personal taxes and not your business taxes, because it's a brand new business, right? So we're going to have to use your personal taxes to get you approved on the startup side. On the I-10 lending side, we're going to use 1 year of your personal taxes and 1 year of your business taxes. So we do want I-10 borrowers to be in business for at least a year and be able to supply us with at least 1 full year of taxes and financials on the personal and the business side. Next slide, please. All right, so here's our existing small business lending criteria. We want to make sure that we're lending to everybody, and I made sure that I presented those 2 slides first. This is for those businesses who are a little more seasoned. They've been in business for at least 2 years. They're showing profit. Maybe they need to expand, or maybe they just need working capital. For our business criteria, existing businesses, our max loan amount on business vehicles is 100,000, term loan 100,000, term loan unsecured is 50,000, line of credits is 45,000, and our business credit card rate or limit is 45,000. Now, if you see the financial requirements for our existing businesses, it's a little different. So we're going to ask for 1 year of taxes for on the personal and the business side. Some banks do require 2 to 3 years of taxes. At this time, we are not requiring that piece. We also decided to keep the credit minimum score of 620 across the board for all borrowers. We did take into consideration that we are in a pandemic. We were just in a pandemic, or however you want to see it. I think we're still in a pandemic, but some people were, their credit scores were heavily affected by the pandemic, especially business owners, because they had to use some of those funds, some of their business funds for their home mortgages and things like that. They had to commingle funds somehow, and some of those bills just couldn't get paid. So we want to make sure that we kept it fair, and we kept that credit criteria at 620 across the board for all small business borrowers.
Taj, did you already address, there's a question in chat you may have already covered. Does Seattle Credit Union have shared branching with other credit unions?
Some of our locations do have shared branching, but that's a one-off question. That's something that we'll have to address at a later time. And my email is in the chat right now. And please feel free to reach out to me directly.
Wonderful. Thank you, Taj, so much. That's amazing. And thank you for being here and for sharing about those programs that you've been working on. And remember, that if you're here and want to talk more with Taj about this, there's a segment that comes up after this part where you can do that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're gonna bring up Lisa Smith, who's gonna talk about grants for profits and for nonprofits. Lisa, take it away.
Hey. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you, Jay and Angela, for your extraordinary vision. These workshops have always been amazing. John, you're excellent at this, back office production part. My name is Lisa Smith. I use she, her pronouns. I am the executive director of the Washington State Microenterprise Association. A lot of words, but basically, we are here to support the nonprofit partners all over Washington. We have 80 partners who work every day to help very small businesses grow. And so we do training and technical assistance. We have grant making and resource coordination. I'm just going to go a little bit over what we do. The primary focus we have is we want to lower the barriers to business ownership. And we do that by helping build capacity in these nonprofits. So you'll see, and you can go to the next, So we work really closely with Business Impact Northwest, Seattle Public Library, with Craft 3 and others, because we know that these nonprofits are helping the very smallest businesses, the under 5 employee companies, move through those barriers so they can become more profitable and more prosperous through training, technical assistance, and microloans. One of the things we've been involved in is putting on webinars, and we've partnered with Black-owned Business Excellence, with the Health Plan Finder and others to really help these nonprofits provide training around how to support businesses with that are owned by people with disabilities, or around health or finance. The second part of what we do is grant making. So Last year, we were able to grant out 1.6 million. It'll be more this year. And we want these grants to go to nonprofits that are helping dedicated groups like this organization. We want to help lower the barriers, and we want to be able to do this more effectively through these nonprofit partners who are this close to the businesses they're serving. Last part is BizLink, Evergreen BizLink. And I want everyone to have this on the tip of your tongue, because we know that if a business 24/7 can find the nonprofit, public, and academic partners near them, they can help them with their business. That's going to really be effective. So Evergreen BizLink is up and running. We haven't done a full, promotion yet because we have only 80 partners. We have another 50 to go. But any business, a woman of color who is a veteran and she's a farmer and she lives in Moses Lake, she needs a microloan, she can put all of that information in Evergreen BizLink right now and get access to the resources that she needs. So I wanted to, and you can reach me, at the traditional areas. Feel free to call me or contact me anytime if you have any questions. So what I want to say about financing, there's a lot of different ways that businesses can find resources. This year and last year during the pandemic, the state had amazing millions of dollars in grants for businesses. This was rare. We were in a pandemic, but the state will have, I think, there may be more grants for businesses through Working Washington, or Working Washington 5 was the last one. But grants are really pretty rare for businesses. If you think about the finance language of businesses, it's loans, microloans. The language of financing for nonprofits is really grants. So if you are looking for a grant, I would go to Department of Commerce. They have excellent resources around upcoming grants for businesses, but also if you're a nonprofit, check out Washington State Microenterprise Association. We'd love, if you're working with businesses and you are helping with technical assistance or training, or you have a microloan fund, we would love to have you in our network. When you go to Evergreen BizLink, for example, the governor does a welcome. Director Brown does a welcome. SBA Regional Director Mike Fong does a welcome, because they know when businesses have access to the technical assistance they need, they understand what they're going after for a loan, they know how to prepare for accessing that financing, and they can access that grant, that loan or grant, they're going to be much more successful. A couple of other things I wanted to just share is that if you go to our Evergreen BizLink website, you'll also see alternative financing. So we have partners around the state that operate local investment networks. And those are where small groups of investors in rural communities invest in businesses on Main Street. And so there's all different kinds of ways to find financing. Reach out to me anytime if you have a question. And I wanted to make sure we have time for the breakout. So thank you for this opportunity. I'd be glad to support anybody on their path toward reaching these goals.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Listen, I put it in chat earlier. I just want to say it again. Everybody here knows each other. All of these folks that are talking right now, they have met each other, or if they haven't, they know it's like, what is it that it's not 100 levels of separation, it's like 2. And so it's easy for you to access or meet somebody, talk to them, and if they're not giving you what you want, if they can't provide you a rate that works for what your situation is, or the right mix of things you need, that person likely knows 3 other people that could help. So this is something that if you have that in your mind when going in, you're going to be more comfortable to advocate for yourself. But then also, I'm also putting that out here now for everybody that's here to remember that the warm introduction, always work with your small businesses with that in mind, please. So it's both sides. Thank you, Lisa,
Yeah,
so much. There's so much more we can say. Oh, you've got something
I
else
just
real
wanted
quick.
to add one more quick thing is that on Evergreen BizLink, for example, and it's in many different languages through Google Translate, but if you want technical assistance in the language that you need, there's also a way to search that where the technical assistance is also provided in that language. So anyway, thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for adding that. Yeah, that's really important. Right now, why don't we take a look at what's going on? Mari Shibuya has been working on her graphic recording and capturing the big topics and the stream of information that we are going through here, so intense and rich. This amount of information and resources that are being provided. How are you doing, Mari?
I'm good. I think I'm definitely going to need to watch this recording again to really do the justice to all the goodness that you all are laying down here, because there's some serious resources. And right now, where I'm kind of at was marking some of, sorry, it's I see that it's a little bit is that okay? There you go. You can kind of see it now. So here are some of the kind of barriers on our path to receiving some of the funds for our minority owned, and I am really, excited to work out some better visuals for all of these different types of funding and financing as we go, to guarantee that this can be a resource to those who view and be able to direct. I know in the past we haven't really wanted to call out specific orgs, but I feel like this is the one to call out specific orgs that you can turn to. So I'm gonna make sure that that's intuitive and that folks can get there. But yeah, here's
Thank
a
you, Mari.
snapshot of our journey.
I'll say another thing. Mari's been with us since the beginning. This is our 9th in the series. We started in August of 2020. And you all know what we've been dealing with through these past years. So if you are interested in that, in more of a creative brain, graphical, visual learner, those graphic recordings will at some point be available, maybe in the YouTube. We'll find a way to get them all listed there so you can come back and look at what we've done over these couple of years. A lot of good information sharing. Right now, I would really like to ask you all to put into chat something you've learned. Sometimes we do a poll, but right now I don't think we have enough time for that. So I'm going to ask everyone to think of something that you've learned, a question that's come up for you where you actually want to know more, and throw it into chat. What did you learn today? Or what do you know you need to learn? And if you could take just a moment to do that while we move to our next part of the meeting, which it's the last chance for the folks that are live streaming to join the Zoom. I know that because we don't work alone here in producing this event, there are people on the team who are helping look at the live stream, and I just want to call out to the team. Thank you so much. We've got Walker and Jenny and our interpreters, and Mari and Carmen, so many who are here. Of course, John Chen, who's the producer extraordinaire, Jay, we've all been working to pull this together. But again, to you live streamers, this is the last chance to join us when we end the live stream and go to breakout rooms.
Excellent. Andrew, are you ready, or would you like to bring our interpreters off of interpretation?
Yeah, let's do that. Interpreters, we're going to bring you all into the room. And the thing I want to say about that is if you've got anybody who's been in the language channel, now we're going to go into breakout rooms. The interpreters will stick around. And if you do have questions that you would...
Language line for the move.
Go ahead. Continue,
If you do have questions that you would like the interpreter to translate for you, please put it into a chat. And if you go into a breakout room with the interpreter, you can put your question into chat, and the interpreter can help interpret that for you. So that I wanted to give some of that just technical there. Thank you. I think I'm ready.
And
Anybody
Angela,
else?
are we ready to say goodbye to our live stream audience?
Why don't we all come on camera and say goodbye to our live stream audience? Interpreters too.
Thank you, interpreters, Madi, all of our speakers. Again, all of you, if you could just wave goodbye to our live stream
audience.
Much.